Good morning. Yeah, I slept well, actually. You? Good. Only about 15 minutes or so. Just thinking. About us. I think I'd like there to be an us. Us sounds nice. Well, I'll be honest, I did have a brief moment of panic when I woke up and didn't recall where I was. But then I saw you next to me and I felt comfort, safety, maybe even happiness. Don't look at me all moony like that or I'll get right out of this bed. Which I should do anyway, because we've got to get dressed and get ready to head back home. Fine. 5 more minutes. Well, you're very persuasive, but still only 5. Because if you think I'm gonna let Ethan find out about this by catching me sneaking out of your hotel room, you don't know me at all. Of course I'll tell him, just not today. I'd rather wait till we're home and I've had a chance to figure out how to tell him. For the longest time it was just the two of us. He's dated people, but not seriously, and I haven't dated at all. We always knew that eventually we'd both come to depend on other people, but I think we both assumed that he would be the first one to do it, you know? Change is good, Rookie. But I want to give him at least the courtesy of letting him know things are changing. He's given up everything for me. Not only is he my twin, but he's my beta, my right hand. And I need to articulate that just because I'm with someone doesn't mean he'll be any less important to me. But that's hard to express when this is barely 12 hours old and I don't know what to call it yet. Be patient with me, all right? I guess you've always been patient with me, so it feels a little silly asking. Thank you. We've got a busy day ahead. Breakfast, driving back to Evergreen, and then this afternoon I was hoping we could start poring over the files we got last night. So let's enjoy our last few minutes of downtime, We've spent hours on this. There's nothing in my files that closely connects it to these other cases. Oh, I don't need to check that last folder. I've been through it many times. It's my medical history, specifically from when I was classified as a werewolf. No, I don't mind. Go ahead. I know I looked bad. I felt even worse. Right. My wolf was a little smaller at the time just because I was a bit smaller as a teenager. Took a while to grow into my full size, but you can see the differences between that form and my normal form. Teeth are longer, eyes fully dilated, color completely obscured. I don't know if you can tell from the picture, but my fur was more wiry and dull in color, not silvery and soft like it is now. Joints and claws more pronounced and defensive posture. Yeah, I sort of lunged at the doctor in that one. She was just doing her job. She didn't deserve it. She especially didn't deserve to be threatened with all those teeth. That one was taken by one of the docs when they found Ethan sitting with me. Well, Dad left when we were little. Mom died. We had the pack, but mostly we had each other. And then suddenly I was something else. He heard what I did. He saw me as a violent, completely unhinged creature. Then he wasn't allowed to see me for weeks. For my part, I was trapped in my own body, unable to control myself, unable to communicate, and desperately lonely. So when all of that melted away and I was able to shift back, we realized that we had almost lost what little we had left. So we just sat there like that for a while, hugging each other. The doctor who walked in on us took the photo but didn't stop us. I think she didn't want to startle me and put Ethan at risk. But eventually I asked for water, and she brought some, took my vitals, and contacted the administration. Yeah, it was pretty overwhelming. It's weird to look back on it. Though I don't think any of this will really help us connect the dots. All of this is stuff I've seen before, just from a different angle. No, I don't think we missed anything. If the administration has it, it was in that database, and if it contained those terms, we pulled it. The administration got rid of physical copies years ago. Oh yeah, it's all digital. Well, yeah, digitizing a bunch of physical records like that would take years, normally, but you forget we're friends with vampires who don't really sleep. We contracted them to do it. Anyway, based on these records, there are 17 different occurrences in the last 20 years where alphas or their heirs went feral like me. Right, I was the only one who came back from it. At least out of these that we know of. They're mostly in the Pacific Northwest, but there are a few from other regions of the U.S. Serpent shifter in Arizona, another wolf in Tennessee, a hawk in Minnesota, and there is reference here to a bear shifter in Canada, but no first-hand source. I mean, I guess it's common enough that you're not really surprised when you hear about it, but it's also rare enough that most shifter clans don't expect it to happen to them. The thing that's bothering me is that it usually doesn't happen to alphas. We're inherently a little stronger than the rest. But there's no connection here. There's nothing that ties all of our cases together. And if the administration thought there was a connection, or if they tied it to an ongoing investigation, there would be tags here. There's nothing. So they haven't caught on to it yet. I don't know. Let's look at Cal's files and the papers from Hurston Ranch. I'm spinning my tires on this. This looks the same as it did years ago. Just a summary. The internal investigation didn't put the charges of negligence, child endangerment, or murder on his human record because they found that he genuinely didn't act out of malice. They ran him through so many lie detectors and evaluations, but they determined that he really just panicked in the moment and ran away from the responsibility. So instead of slapping him with a record, they opted to send him to a facility. None of the pack were allowed to communicate with him, even through snail mail. Usually when someone is sent into custody or a facility, the administration keeps a copy of the release form. Do you see one of those in Cal's files? Well, I'm looking for how often our branch of the administration has sent troubled youth to Hurston, but it looks like Cal's the only one. My thought is, we have our own resources. It's kind of necessary, given our magical abilities, so in a case like this, they'd usually have a dedicated place for troubled youth in our region to go. Maybe they were testing out a new location with Cal? I mean, it obviously didn't work, so they decided not to use them again? I don't know. It looks like the other juveniles in the last 2 decades have been sent to a facility on Lopez Island, but to be fair, none of them had as big an offense as Cal did. I've known about that place for a while. Usually the kids are in for misdemeanors, shoplifting. Cal took the hit for 5 murders, and he abandoned a newly turned shifter and an heir to an alpha at that, so he broke one of the few shifter protocols that could be considered a pillar of what we are. Maybe they felt the need to do something more serious with him? No, he was never violent. That's the thing. His crime was inaction, not violence. The only violence I've ever seen him commit was when he came back from Harston. That one should be the form we're looking for. Subject determined to be nonviolent and remorseful. Scheduled for intake at Lopez Island Health Center on August 11th. And this is dated August 8th. What? No, it doesn't make any sense at all. A last-minute change like that, I don't... What's that? An addendum by Director Hadley. We've been approached by a team of specialists out of Montana who believe that Cal would be a good fit at their facility and have expressed significant concerns that his actions could lead to isolation or mistreatment from the other patients. After careful review, we've agreed to accept their offer as they come highly recommended by the Midwestern HQ. No, he's right. Cal would have been ostracized for what he did. My mother was well loved in our region, so for me to go through all of that because of him... I don't know, they had a point. There's a series of emails attached to this at a later date. I've been trying to get in touch with Cal as per standard procedure, but have been informed that Harston's policy does not allow for communication with anyone aside from immediate family. Reached out to Cal's parents and discovered that they had gotten back brief, uncharacteristically closed-off responses. Cal's family has chosen to separate from Evergreen and has requested that we no longer contact them. And this one is from 6 months later. Harston's reply after Hadley repeatedly tried to get in touch with Cal. Director, as per our previous emails, it is a violation of our policies and endangers our treatment program to allow for communication with patients. Further correspondence from you on this topic will be ignored until the agreed-upon release date, at which time we will work with you to arrange transportation to send Cal home. You will receive regular updates as to his well-being, but we insist that you refrain from further attempts to communicate with our patient. And the rest of these emails are all Hadley trying to get backing from the rest of the administration to go in there with guns blazing. But nobody wanted to rock the boat, especially not with Midwestern HQ. This seems wildly out of process. Most of our programs have a heavy sense of community, not isolation. Even my treatment program included regular visits after Ethan broke the ice and they determined I wasn't a threat to anyone. Does Harston have a webpage? Just a nondescript ranch near Missoula. We specialize in the rehabilitation of troubled youth and set young adults on the path to success using behavioral therapy, meaningful work, and a family environment. Yeah, I'm sure you do. Can you pull up their staff page? They should have one that lists the therapists they work with and possibly the donors that fund it. Well, the donors look like normal people. We could cross-reference these 3 therapists and see if their credentials check out, but we won't be able to go far before we hit HIPAA. Yeah, I'd appreciate it if you would. If one of them's a quack, then we might have something to go on. Wait, scroll back. That can't be. Pull up that article about my mom's car accident, the one with the picture of the car. They're the same. The reporter who wrote the article, Taylor Lee, they're an administrator and donor for Harston Ranch. And the witness too, Alexandra Mullins. Yeah, I don't think this is a coincidence. Someone just so happens to be the only witness to my mom's death, and a local reporter gets the scoop, and later both of them manage the same facility where Cal lived before he tried to kill me. Rookie, what if my mom's death wasn't an accident? Don't look at me like that. Look, I get that accidents happen. And sure, there is some element of disbelief on my part even after all these years. But my mom was a good driver, okay? They said she was thrown from the car because she wasn't wearing a seatbelt, but my mom always wore seatbelts without fail every time. No, there's no chance she forgot. This is the woman who once had to take a private phone call while we were camping, so she sat in her car for privacy and she buckled her seatbelt out of habit. The car wasn't even on. We teased her relentlessly for it. All I'm saying is that the details of the accident never added up for me. At the time, I just wrote it off thinking that maybe she was in a hurry or distracted, but now that I know the witness and the reporter are linked to Cal like this, I'm not so sure it was just a tragic fluke. If someone's got it out for my family, Rookie, then that means Ethan could be in danger too. Yeah, you're right. We need to figure out what they're up to. Well, yeah, I will tell Ethan and Director Hadley too, but I want to do more digging first. Give them facts to verify, not trails to chase. It doesn't look like there's much information about the witness, but the reporter was actually a full-time employee, not a freelance writer. If you think the newspaper will talk to you, then sure, they might still be employed there. So LinkedIn is good for something after all. I always saw it as an extra cringe form of social media. Okay, so they don't work there anymore. But there isn't job history after that, and there's not even a date on when they left. Well, yeah, but their HR can't tell you much more than confirming they worked there and dates of employment. I'll let you handle it then. Oh, come on, I don't need a break. Well, if you need one, then sure. We could go for a walk. Maybe bring Artemis along. Poor dog hasn't been for a walk yet today. Of course I missed her while we were in Seattle. Who wouldn't miss her? So yeah, spending time with her might be nice. Or we could grab something to eat. Or we could always do both. Or... Well, no complaints from me if that's how you want to spend the time.